Welcome to the ConferZoom training. Today we're going to cover how to register for an account, how to launch a meeting, and how to lead a meeting and manage it. So first we'll go to ConferZoom.org. Write that link down because that is where you're going to go to register for your ConferZoom account. You'll click on Sign Up in the top right and you'll fill out your information and click Sign Up. You'll get an email and you'll have to confirm your account. Now, if you've already signed up before for a free account, you have a 40-minute time limit. That means you signed up at zoom.us, and that's okay. But to fix it, you'll have to go back to ConferZoom.org, click Sign Up, put in your info, and then it'll take up to 72 business hours for them to upgrade your account. So, ConferZoom.org, click Sign Up, and you'll be able to get your account ready. So once you have your ConferZoom account registered, then you'll be able to create meetings. And it's very, very easy to set up a meeting. You can go to ConferZoom.org, which I'm about to show you what that looks like. So you go to ConferZoom.org, and then you'll be able to create a meeting. And you'll be able to set all these specific settings based on how you want your meeting to go. The other way you can do this is the Canvas, what's called an LTI. Now that's a tool within Canvas. You can learn more about launching Zoom within Canvas by going to the link you see on your screen. That is the Hartnell PDC website, hartnell.edu/pdc/canvas/online training.html. There is a link on that page for all sorts of information about using the Canvas ConferZoom LTI. For now, we're just going to do it through ConferZoom.org. We're going to create a link to our meeting, and we're going to put that somewhere in Canvas because that's what you're going to do most of the time. So let's jump in and go to ConferZoom.org. So once you're at ConferZoom.org, you're going to click on Sign In. And again, this is where we sign up, right? So once you have signed up, you can sign in. And to start a new meeting, you'll click Schedule a New Meeting. It's under this Meetings header here. And you can call it whatever you'd like. For this one, we're going to call it Virtual Office Hours. You can see I've done this before, right? And under this time period here, we're going to select Recurring Meeting. And under the Recurrence, we're going to set it to No Fixed Time. Now, the reason we do this is because you have the ability, once you create this link, to click on the link and launch it anytime. So you can use it over and over. You can use it in different classes if you want. Totally up to you. This just gives you a little bit of freedom because now you have one meeting link that you're worried about, right? You don't have a million links. So we make it a recurring meeting with no fixed time. Use it as many times or as few times as you need. We're going to ignore most of these options in the interest of time. We are really going to focus on the security. Okay, so we want to make sure that we have a waiting room enabled, and that means that when your students click on the link to join the meeting, they won't just pop into your meeting room. You will have to click Admit All or Admit, student by student. This gives you a lot more security because now you're not worried about someone popping into your meeting that just put in a random link, right? You have all of your students, you're going to let them in one by one. That's a great way for you to kind of make eye contact with who's coming to the lectures too. So it's totally up to you. You don't have to have the waiting room enabled, but I highly, highly recommend it. And it really, I would say it's necessary if you're doing something like this where it's a virtual office hour kind of situation, because you're going to be talking to students about their grades and they need that privacy. So you want to have, for virtual office hours, you absolutely want that waiting room enabled. So that way, if someone pops in to meet with you, they're not going to actually pop in. It just gives you a lot of flexibility there. Now for the video, for the host and participant, I like to leave them set to on. It now will prompt people and say, okay, are you sure you want to share your camera? And they can say no if they want. this is fine to leave on. That's the way I like to do it, but it's totally up to you. You can also set it to off, and they can manually turn on their camera if they would like. It's just one extra step. It's not a big deal. Audio, we like to leave it set to both because that way, if they don't have a microphone with their computer, then they can call in by telephone, and it just gives them a couple more options that way. If they have, issues with their computer sound or whatever, it just gives them another alternative for that. Those phone numbers will be displayed once the student clicks on the meeting link. It will say, do you want to join by phone or by your computer audio, and then it'll display those phone numbers if they choose telephone. Under meeting options, I like to enable join before host. It just means that your students can click on your link and they can be in that room waiting for you. They'll actually be in the waiting room if you have the waiting room enabled. But that way you'll get a notification, you'll get an email that says your Zoom meeting attendees are waiting, which is kind of nice because then you let them join a few minutes before you and you don't get a bunch of panicked emails saying, hey, your Zoom link doesn't work. So I like to enable join before host, but if you're getting a lot of emails, where your students are all testing out the Zoom link and it's getting irritating and hard to manage, then you might want to uncheck this so that way you're not getting emails when people are joining to test. We're not going to worry about these other things. I encourage you can do all of these things when you're actually in your lecture meeting. I sometimes like to record automatically, but I like to say something to the people that I'm with. So instead of having it record automatically, I like to say, hey, is everybody comfortable with me recording? Now it will say, even if you do choose to record automatically, it will say this meeting is being recorded. Anytime someone joins the room, they will hear that pre-recorded message. So you've done your thing in that the system will notify them that they're being recorded, but I like to get a feel from the people that I'm working with to see if they're comfortable with it too, but it's totally up to you. Under meeting type, just select whatever is appropriate. Is this direct student instruction or is it non-instructional? Is this counseling? Is this a department meeting? That would be non-instructional. I would say if it's a lecture, it's student instruction. If it's office hours, that's probably student instruction as well, but you can classify it as needed. Alternative hosts, this is great if you, I use this for department meetings, but you can use this however you want, where I like to give my director the alternative host because I know he has a Zoom account, so I can put in his email here. And that way, if I'm running a few minutes late or if I have a training that runs over, then he can start the meeting without me, which is great flexibility. And now we're going to hit save. And now we have a recurring meeting called virtual office hours. And we have right here, we have the invite link. That's the thing that we need. So this is the link that we'll need to share with our students so that way they could access our lectures. So what you can do is you can right click and select copy link address. You can also click and drag and hit Control and C on your keyboard to copy it. You can also click copy invitation, which will give you this whole meeting invitation that you'll sometimes see. I don't like to do that because I find this confusing. People will click on this link instead of this link, and that's a problem. So I highly encourage you to just take this link right here and distribute it as you see fit. So I'm going to show you how to distribute this link, and then we'll go into how to actually manage your meeting. So I copied this link, so now I'm going to go into my Canvas course, and the way I'm doing this is I have an announcement. So I've gone into Canvas, logged in, I clicked on my course to enter it, and then I've clicked on announcement, and then I hit the plus announcement button. So now I've got an announcement. I've titled it Virtual Office Hours, and now I have some context here. This is stuff that we don't always think about, but this can really save your students and prevent a lot of emails from hitting your inbox. So I just put something like, hello students, this semester you'll be able to reach me during my virtual office hours from 1 to 2 p.m. on Mondays and Wednesdays. You can reach me during those hours by clicking on my Zoom link below. Now here is where I've written descriptive text. So instead of putting my link like this, right? I just pasted it right here. Instead of pasting my link like this, I like to write out a description. And this is an accessibility thing. So it's really, really important to do it this way, not just because it looks better, but because it's important for accessibility. So I can now link this, right? So I'm just going to highlight that text that I'm going to link. I'm going to go up here to this little chain link, and it says link to URL. So this is an external link. So I clicked on the chain link, and now I'm going to put my link in here so I can paste, and I have my ConferZoom link. Okay, I'm going to click insert link, and if I click away from it, it's blue, it's underlined, it's a link. So all I have to do at this point is hit save. And now I have an announcement in my course that has my office hours Zoom link. So this is how I can join it as the instructor. I can click on my link and it will launch a Zoom meeting, or your students can click this link and they'll launch into a Zoom meeting as well. So same link for both of you. You will be good to go. Once you click on this link, you may have to sign into it. It will prompt you to sign in. But once you sign in one time, it generally stays signed in on your computer so you don't have to think about it. So again, the way that you would sign into this is by using that email address that you registered with and the password that you set up when you created your account at ConferZoom.org. So that's how we create our account. That's how we create a meeting link. And this is how we put the meeting link into our Canvas course. So now let me show you how to actually manage a Zoom meeting. All right, so now we're talking about leading our meeting. So I had to take screenshots here because Zoom is very difficult to record because Zoom hides all of the meeting controls. So I did this with a series of screenshots. So it's going to be something like this that you're going to see. So once you get into your meeting, you're going to see all these options down here at the bottom. And these options, sometimes you'll have to wiggle your mouse because these options will hide if you're not, hovering your mouse over them. So wiggle your mouse and these options will show up along the bottom of your screen. So this right here is either mute or unmute. This is how you can mute the microphone that you have so that way nobody can hear you. And if nobody hears you, it's probably because you're already muted. So make sure to click this button. It will say unmute and it'll show green and fill up the microphone as you are talking. That shows that it's hearing you. Now, one more thing, if you're not muted and students still can't hear you and this microphone just looks white and there's no green, then click on this upward arrow because this will allow you to select a microphone on your device. So sometimes, like right now, I'm using a headset to record this. And it's possible that if you have a headset that Zoom is not recognizing, maybe it thinks that it's trying to listen through your computer speakers or something like that. So it's good to make sure hit the upward arrow if you're having trouble and go through and make sure that you select whatever microphone you have if you have multiple ones here. Now the next item, and this is also, and actually before I move on, this is also where you can do things like switch to phone audio. And this is also where you can select your output device. So right here you see I have several output devices, and that's because I'm usually connected to my, I have a flat screen monitor in addition to my laptop screen. And that's because I need two screens, right? Because I'm doing a lot of stuff. So I need to make sure that it's coming through the right speaker. So if it's coming through your computer speaker, it's not coming through your headset, this is the kind of stuff. You're going to hit this upward arrow, make sure you select the correct microphone and the correct speaker. And if all else fails, switch to the phone audio. And what that's going to do is it's going to mute your computer entirely. And once you switch to the phone audio and call in, you're going to be able to just talk through the phone, hear through the phone, and that's pretty reliable. So the next item is the video. Just like the mute and unmute, this is going to say either stop video or start video. And you can, again, hit the upward arrow and you can do things like select the right camera. Now I have two cameras, right, because I have an integrated webcam on my laptop screen, but I also have a webcam that I have sitting on top of my computer screen. So you want to make sure that you're hitting the right one if you have multiple. And there's other things that you can do here as well. That bottom option there says choose a virtual background. And this isn't just a fun thing to do. So you can choose a virtual background, and what it does is it will put in any image that you select. You don't need a green screen, but it's going to hide your entire background and only focus on like your face and your hair. So and your body if you're showing any of your body in the video. So it blacks out everything in the background and replaces it with the photo that you choose, which is really nice. And again, it's not just a fun thing. You'll see people with like swaying palm trees and stuff, which is kind of fun, and it makes it look like you're on a beach. But this is also this can be an equity issue because it's not just for you, it's for your students as well. And sometimes it's helpful to students or to us if we have things in the background that we don't want to share personal things, or even just we don't want to show our socioeconomic level, right? So you can choose a virtual background just so that it doesn't even become a thing. It doesn't even enter into the conversation. So virtual backgrounds are fun, but they're also useful and valuable in certain settings. Something to think about anyway. So let's go to the next item here, and that is the security button. Now this is huge. You will use the security button at some point. The security button is a new feature as of spring 2020, and it came about because there were problems with people jumping in. They called it Zoom bombing, and people were jumping into meetings that they were not invited to. And it's because they were entering in Zoom links and they were just changing the digits at the end so they could pop into random meetings, or they were finding publicly posted Zoom meeting links. Like people have to post Zoom meeting links for like the board meetings. These are public meetings, so anyone from the public can join in. And so there was a problem with that across the country. So Zoom responded to that and added the security button. So this security button is your one-stop area that you can click and you can solve problems very quickly. So the top option is to lock your meeting. You can lock it after everyone is in the meeting that is supposed to be in the meeting. This prevents anyone new from joining, so you know that you're not going to have any unwanted guests. I don't really use the lock meeting feature, but it's a cool one to have. What I use instead is the waiting room feature, and you'll see right there it says enable waiting room. So if you set that up when you created your meeting, you will already have a waiting room set up for you, so you won't need to check mark it here. But again, this makes it so that everyone who wants to get into your meeting, they can click on your Zoom link and they're going to be put in a waiting room. And what you'll be able to do is view those people in the waiting room. You'll see it under the participants. So the next item we'll talk about is the manage participants right here. So enabling the waiting room means you can let people in one by one, so you can see their name, recognize them, let them in, or you can admit everyone at once. So you could start up your meeting 10 minutes ahead of your lecture, your office hours, and then you can let people in one by one or let everyone in at once. So waiting room is a fabulous feature. You can always disable it if you want. Again, you'll just go here to security and you'll click on enable waiting room to either enable it with a check mark, or you'll click on it if it's already check marked, and that will disable it. So really, really easy to use. Another feature here, we have the ability to allow our participants to do certain things. So we can allow them to chat or not. So again, right now chat is enabled. So I would just click on this item and the check mark would be removed and they could no longer use the chat feature. Same thing applies to renaming themselves. So if you're having a problem with people renaming themselves something goofy, then you can remove their ability to do that. You can also remove their ability to unmute themselves. So you can mute everyone. That's actually an option under Manage Participants. You can mute everyone if you're getting bad echo or students are being disruptive during your lecture, and then you can remove their ability to unmute themselves. So that's really handy. You could also disable their ability to annotate on shared content. So one of the things we're going to talk about in a minute is how to share your screen. And everyone does have the ability to draw things on that shared screen. Now this is useful because you can do things like share a PowerPoint and you can draw on it and you can have other people draw on it as well. So now you've got kind of this collaborative whiteboard feature. So this is a really cool item, but if you're having a problem, you can disable it. Just go to security, disable their ability by clicking on annotate on shared content, and it will remove the check mark and remove their ability to do that. Now there's also, you can immediately remove a participant or you can report a participant. If someone is being really highly offensive, you can report them. This goes to Zoom. This does not go to anyone in-house here at Hartnell. So it's not like it's going to go to student services and say this person was disruptive. This is going to go to Zoom, and they will consider removing the person who's abusing their platform. So security is hugely important, and it's something that you will certainly use at some point. Now here, the next item is to invite people. So you can invite them by copying the URL to your meeting, and you can send it to them. We won't cover this too extensively because remember, we've put the link already in your course. Now we can manage participants, and that allows us to see a little window with all of the participants who are in the meeting. So I will see a list of all of my students who are in here. Now, if you have a waiting room enabled, this is also, it will say up at the top, it'll say, the people's names, and it'll say that they're in the waiting room, and they'll give you the option to allow them to come in, or you can not allow them to come in. So you'll see all of that under the Manage Participants pane. This is also where people will do things like they can say, they can respond to you without actually unmuting themselves. So they can do things like they can indicate that they want you to go slower or go faster, or there's all sorts of other fun options here. So check out that participants pane because it will tell you all sorts of cool stuff. So people will, in committee meetings, you'll see people voting, and it's because they've gone to participants and they've selected yes for themselves or no or whatever it is. So really cool options here. And the other thing that you can do here is you can mute everyone. You can unmute everyone, which will actually ask them if they want to be unmuted. So that is a nice little privacy thing, but at least it gives them the ability to unmute themselves at that point. You can also do things here. There's a little more menu, and this will allow you to do things like we talked about a minute ago, allowing people to unmute themselves, allowing them to rename themselves, lock the meeting, mute them when they enter if you're having a problem. The thing I use the most is play chime for enter exit. And I think this terminology has been updated a little bit. I think it says play a sound when someone enters or leaves. This is helpful because now you know if someone's sitting there in the waiting room and you get a little chime in your ear, and it's very, very helpful. The other thing you can do is you can hover over specific participants in your meeting, and you can just mute them by clicking on this little button. So if you're having a lot of echo from somebody and they're unable to mute themselves, you can take control and handle the situation. You can manage your class this way. So mute them very quickly. You can also go to more and you can stop their video. So again, if they're doing something weird on the video or they don't realize they're being videoed, click stop video, that's fine. You can also do things like make someone a host or a co-host. So that way they have the ability to do things like this. So let's say you have a teaching assistant. That person you could make the co-host of your lecture, and they can do the management of the class. Like if if they want to mute people for you that have an echo or that kind of thing. Also, if you have someone who is there to type closed captions, then you can assign that individual to type closed captions, and they will be able to enter live captions as you talk. And of course, you can remove people too. So that's also in the Manage Participants. It's also in that security button, which is really nice. So let's keep going here. Polls are a great feature. What you'll be able to do is you'll click on polls and you'll click on add a question, and that will allow you to get a quick read of the room. Students can answer yes or no, that kind of thing. I don't use this very much, but you can. Sharing is another big one that you will do. If you click on share, that will allow you to share your screen. You'll have several options, so that's really, really important. That's actually the next item right here. So you click on share, and by default, the first option that's selected will be screen. So this allows you to share your entire screen. So that means whatever you have open, students can see. So be careful with this. But this would be how you would, if you had a PowerPoint, you would put your PowerPoint on your screen. I'm actually using Google Slides for this right now. So you can put a PowerPoint on your screen or share a Google Slides presentation. And now you're sharing your screen, your students can see it, and it's just a great option. Now you can also share things like YouTube videos. Just make sure that you click on screen, right? And then below that, you'll see something that says share computer sound. I think now it says share and optimize computer sound. So make sure that that's checked, otherwise your students won't be able to hear your video. So if you ever have problems, you can always reshare. You can always stop sharing and then reshare your screen, just because sometimes that's easier than trying to figure out where all of these individual options are. So you'll click on screen, share computer sound if you need to, and then share, and now everybody will see your screen. So the next item is chat. This is hard. This is hard for me to manage personally. When I have, I do like to allow people to do chat, and I just tell them, I say, listen, it may take me a few minutes to get to the chat because it's hard to be presenting and reading questions at the same time. I would rather someone just unmute themselves to ask a question. It's easier, and I don't have to catch up and try to manage both spaces. But chat is a valuable feature. It does give students a space where they can ask questions, and sometimes they're a little bit more comfortable asking questions in the chat than barging in on your lecture. So things to think about. I like the chat feature, but it's hard to manage, so just be cognizant of it. You'll see a little notification if somebody enters something into the chat, and then you'll just click on chat and it will open up the chat window. You can also use chat to send files to people. And again, you can do things like you can hit the three dots here when you open up chat, and you can limit who people can chat privately with. You can make them chat publicly. You can only let them chat with you instead of each other, or whatever you want to do. So the next option that we have is record. Record is exactly what it sounds like. This will allow you to record the meeting. It will say this meeting is being recorded to anyone that enters. So even if someone enters in your lecture late, it will tell them when they enter that the meeting is being recorded. So that way everyone knows they're being recorded, which is nice. However, I like to ask permission first. I mean, theoretically, you've done the thing that you needed to do because Zoom tells them they're being recorded, so they are aware of it. But just out of courtesy and respect, it's really nice to say, hey, I'm going to start recording the meeting. If you have a problem with that, let me know. So once you click record, once you end your meeting, you will get an email that says your recording is ready, and you can access those recordings at ConferZoom.org. Now, those recordings are on the cloud, so they are there's a link that you can send to everybody. But when they're recorded that way and they're hosted at ConferZoom.org, they only last for a year. So this is helpful for a current class if you're just recording your your classes for the other students to see, that works just fine. But if you want to if you want to do a Zoom lecture and you want to save it and reuse it, for years and years, then you really need to go to ConferZoom.org, download the video file, and then put it onto YouTube or Canvas Studio or Google Drive or somewhere, which allows you to save it indefinitely. One other note about this, don't save it onto your virtual desktop. If you are using the Hartnell College virtual desktops, do not save your videos onto the virtual desktops unless it's temporarily while you're uploading it to YouTube or something like that, or Google Drive. And that's because videos take up a lot of space. Now, we have unlimited space in Google Drive, and as far as I'm aware, we have unlimited space in YouTube. So we can upload our videos there with our Hartnell College account, and it's unlimited for now. So that's really the space that you want to put it. Even Canvas Studio is going to be limited, somewhat limited. So I highly encourage you to download the videos if you want to save them, upload them to YouTube, and then you can put them in Canvas Studio or wherever. So this isn't really a training for that specifically. There are training materials out there, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about recording and just being careful with those recordings. Next item are closed captioning, and it's the same thing as we looked at under Manage Participant. This just allows somebody in your meeting to type live captions. And breakout rooms are a great feature. It allows everyone to go into a small group. When you click on breakout rooms, you will then see this dialog or something like it, and it will allow you to put your participants in the meeting into however many rooms. So if you have 10 participants, you might want to do, 2 rooms or so. You got 5 participants in each room. You can manage this however you would like. And you can do this automatically, or you can do it manually. I highly recommend you do it automatically, and then if there's a problem, you'll be able to still move students around, which is great. One more thing I want to mention about breakout rooms. So this does put everyone into a small Zoom on their own. And then they can come back into the main room so you can have group conversations this way. It's wonderful, wonderful feature. The one caveat here is that it doesn't work with Chromebooks. Now, this is not necessarily a huge problem because everyone with a Chromebook just won't get put into those small rooms. So they'll still be in the main room. So if there's a couple of people that have a Chromebook, they'll effectively become their own small group, right? Which is nice. The problem starts to happen when you are teaching something like a dual enrollment class and all of your students have Chromebooks. If all of your students have Chromebooks, now you're going to run into an issue where you're going to try to do breakout rooms and it's not going to move anybody because anyone who has a Chromebook will not be moved into a breakout room. So just something to think about. You can always test it out and see how it works in your individual classes, and use it with one class. Don't use it with another. Do what you have to do. So after you hit create rooms, you will see this dialog, which will allow you to do things like move everyone into a breakout room automatically. You absolutely want that selected. You don't want to have to, say yes and confirm it. It's just one more thing. I like to allow participants to return anytime. I don't have a problem with this, but if this is a problem where students are leaving their small breakout groups early, then you might want to, not allow them to return to the main session. I like to use this close automatically feature. This allows me to set like a 10-minute timer where people can go into their breakout rooms and they can discuss it. And then I like to be notified when the time is up, and I like to give them a countdown to it. I like to give them typically a 60-second countdown timer, and then it's going to pop everyone automatically back into the main Zoom session. So this is a great feature. I love using breakout rooms. People really like them. It kind of mimics that classroom environment a little bit, which is nice. So one more thing to know about with the breakout rooms, when you hit record, it will not record anything that happens in the breakout rooms. So it will resume recording when you're back in the main session, but it will not record the breakout rooms. And that's because it doesn't have the bandwidth to then record like 10 different breakout rooms or whatever it is. That would be a huge video file. Just can't happen. So it doesn't record breakout rooms. It does record the main session. It will resume recording the main session if you do breakout rooms. So you'll click on breakout rooms, do this where you assign them automatically or manually, and then hit your options, and then confirm and say open all rooms. Everyone gets pushed in. When it's over, everyone gets pushed back. So breakout rooms are fabulous. So that's pretty much it. When you're ready to end the meeting, you'll click on end meeting. It will, if you're the host, it will say end meeting. It will say leave meeting, and then it will say end meeting for all. So you can either click end meeting and then you can choose to leave the meeting and let it keep going, or you can end the meeting for everyone because the lecture's over, right? So totally up to you and how you want to do it. And again, if you've recorded the meeting, it will be available automatically at ConferZoom.org, and you will receive an email notification with the recording link if you would like to distribute that to your students at that point. So we've covered quite a bit today, but you should be aware that additional support is available. You can go to the Hartnell PDC website. There is a ConferZoom support webpage that has a ton of links to additional information. So you can go to hartnell.edu/pdc/guides/ConferZoom. If you just go to hartnell.edu/pdc, Professional Development Center, that's the webpage, you'll be able to navigate from there and find whatever you need to find. So it's divided into different guides, and then you can go by topic. So if you don't remember this link, just remember hartnell.edu/pdc. You'll find a ton of additional support there, including support phone numbers and stuff like that. So we've covered a lot in a short period of time, but hopefully this gets you started in the right direction. Thanks for watching, everyone.